You guys also should have HMH open on another tab because you potentially need to review your story for what we're going to do today. Because we're going to be answering collaborative discussion questions. 3 questions together, and then you have 1 question for homework by yourself. Mrs. Kneifel is going to be doing a lot of back and forth, so don't mind me. But your screen should start sharing in just a minute. And then we will get started. We have 3 collaborative discussion questions to do together. All they have to do with Captain Arsenio. What's up?
Is this question about like when you go up there and you type on the Google Doc?
Yeah, but instead we're just doing it all on the Google Doc. Instead of me running 2 screens, you guys are just going to also be right here.
Oh.
So, I'm glad your day is good, Mark. As soon as the screen starts sharing, I told it to share. I did tell it to share. It's just not. Then we're going to get started with our questions. The first question is, since it's not showing up yet, we'll just talk about it. And then once it starts showing up, we'll start typing. The first question is, how does the narrator come to know so much about Captain Arsenio? So I'll be thinking about that. How does the narrator, the person telling the story, know so much about the captain? If you think of an answer, feel free to throw it in the chat. If you have some pieces of it, and then together we're going to make it all together. Why is my screen not sharing? Okay. It doesn't look like it's sharing on anyone else's, Connor. Yeah, that's not screen sharing, Connor. Okay? Okay. Yeah, now 30 seconds later, Connor, let's say things that are like, you know, have productive thoughts behind them. So, the first question is up. How does the narrator come to know so much about Captain Arsenio? So, I want some answers in the chat, and then off your guys' answers, I'm going to build a really good radar question answer so you guys can see how to build. Again, eventually you're going to be building these all on your own or with a partner on a shared doc. So, tell me in the chat, how does he know so much about him? What's up? Remember, this is a fantasy story. Okay, so his diary, his journal, found his diary because he read the diary because, okay. So far, you guys have a great start. So I want you to pause there. Now we're going to practice restating our question and say that he knows because of the diary. You guys are correct. And then I'm going to ask you another question that kind of goes on with this. So watch me as I type. Of course, I'm writing a paragraph, so I'm going to tag in because that's important. Is it not sharing again? What on earth? Oh, wait. Now let's see. Mrs. Kneifel's always got some technology issues. We're going to wait till it starts sharing. Resume presenting. Let's go. But remember, when you start using radar, the first one is restate the question. So that's the first thing we have to do whenever my screen starts sharing. What on earth is happening? Let's go screen. I swear it says it's sharing. I don't know. Let me try again. I'm going to exit or I'm going to stop screen sharing and then re-screen share and hopefully it'll magically start again. So when we restate a question, we turn the question into a statement. That doesn't mean just changing from a question mark to a period. That means you have to reword it around, okay? But we know he knows so much because of the diary. We're going to call it a diary because that's what the story called it, okay? Like a diary is this, like a journal would be a synonym for it, but we're going to call it a diary because that's what the story called it. Okay, I started screen sharing again. Okay, cool. Finally. So, I'm going to tab in. How does the narrator come to know so much about Captain Arsenio? If Mrs. Kneifel was writing this, I would just say is it going to move slow like a snail? I'm going to get rid of one more of my tabs, and hopefully that helps. The narrator, oh my goodness. Mrs. Kneifel's about to get frustrated, but that's okay. The narrator knows a lot about Captain Arsenio, period. He knows so much about the captain because of his diary. Typing, it'll show up in a second, girlfriend. Hopefully. You can do it, computer. Come on. Okay. Well, this is adventurous. No one else will be able to see it then. Okay, there it goes. The narrator knows a lot about Captain Arsenio. He knows so much about the captain because of his diary. Period. Now, I want to talk about maybe why is your screen blurry? My screen's not blurry. I see it. I can see that it's blurry, but I'm like, just for the record, children, I have views of your screens. Why it's blurry, I don't know. Hopefully it becomes unblurry soon. Either way, I'm speaking, so you can still hear what I'm saying, and hopefully it becomes unblurry soon. I do not know why it's like that. I'm sorry. So we're just going to continue. Hopefully it becomes unblurry soon. So anyways, yeah, we found his diary, and it had a lot of information, but I want to know exactly what type of information. So the diary was full of what? Oh, wait, I didn't want to type up. I just wanted to say the diary. Put it in the chat. Chat. This could not move any slower. What was written inside the diary? Yes, Mark, we are already talking about that it is blurry. Don't put a question mark, Mark. Question mark, Mark. Haha, sorry. Go look in the story. The story tells you exactly what it was full of. Connor, I will kick you off if you are to be distracting. I'm going to try to stop screen sharing again and see if I can re-screen share and stop it being blurry while you guys are answering the question. So tell me exactly what was in the diary. About his 18 times he failed. He still kept trying. What else was in there? How about, I want you guys to find the line on the first page that talks about, or actually on the second page, that talks about how the author describes the design. So in the diary, once I screen share again, I'm going to write that, in the diary, it had his 18 designs, failures, all that stuff. But the author also said 3 words in how he described it. So I want you to find my descriptive words for the narrator, what he thinks of his inventions. It is on the second page. What's up? I remember what's happening in the chat. But I'm glad you found it. Okay, I'm going to start screen sharing again. Hopefully it'll work this time. We'll see. I apologize. We're having technical difficulties. That's not what I want. I want a screen share. I swear, my computer works way better next door. It's like when I come in here is when it doesn't work. Just don't know. So the narrator knows a lot about Captain Arsenio. He knows so much about the captain because of his diary. The diary was full, eventually it'll show up on your screen, was full of the how about his 18 prototypes. Oh, look at Mrs. Kneifel using one of our words, model, full of his prototypes, period. Then let's see if anyone found those keywords I'm looking for. Oh my goodness, this is just not working today. Mrs. Kneifel's getting frustrated. Connor, get it together, sir. Someone said they were eccentric, passionate impulse. So the line I'm specifically looking for is on the second page. Second page under the discovery. Arsenio developed 18 different designs for a flying machine, each one original, foolish, and fantastic. So that is what the lovely person thinks. The narrator thinks that they are all those things. So the diary was full of his 18 prototypes. The narrator considered his designs to be original, foolish, and fantastic. Yes. Paragraph 6. You're welcome. As soon as this shows up, you'll see my lovely thing, and then all we have left is to end it. So the narrator knows about the captain because the diary is full of his 18 prototypes. The narrator said his designs were blank, blank, and blank. Original, foolish, and fantastic. So even though the narrator doesn't have a lot of faith in him, he still thinks his designs are fantastic. Still knows that he's working hard. Let me fix foolish because I spelled it wrong. All right, so now I just need an ending sentence. How can I end this? I told you how he still gave you, I can even put quotes around original, foolish. That came straight from the story. So now I need a way to wrap this up, to end it. If you have a way that might sound good to end it, you could throw it in my chat. How could I maybe end this? What's a good way to just, whoop, I don't just want to say, you know, the end. That's how the narrator knows a lot about Captain Arsenio. That would be a perfect ending, Mark. We could totally put that. Anyone else have anything? Connor, I'm going to let you know that you are currently in class with me. So even if I froze, you're still able to hear me. So do not put that in the chat, sir. That is not necessary. Anyone else have anything? How they might want to end it? Also, if you have something long to say, you could always unmute yourself and say it. This information is how he knows so much about Captain A. Perfect. Okay, so let's just type something out. I'll combine the two peoples that sent me one, and we will see what we come up with. So we could also talk about how, you know, like the narrator gave us a lot of information on Captain Arsenio. The narrator played a big part in the story. Let's add that. The narrator's thoughts played a big part in the story. Remember, it is a story. That is how the narrator knew so much about the captain. If it ever shows up, you'll be able to see it. And then we're going to read through it all together. And then we're going to move on to number 2. We'll see if we ever get through this today because it is just taking so long because of, I don't know why. Everything is moving so slow. Oh, there it goes. The narrator's thoughts played a big part in the story. That is how the narrator knows so much about the captain. All right, so I understand that there's probably some random little errors, but oh well. So how does the narrator know so much about Captain Arsenio? I know some of you're writing already, and if you got this question, you would literally say his diary and move on. Well, now that we're in 5th grade, his diary would not work. You have to be able to restate the question. You have to provide me text evidence like the words original, foolish, fantastic, and you have to be able to wrap it up and give me those details to get all the points that you need. So the narrator knows a lot about Captain Arsenio. He knows so much about the captain because of his diary. The diary was full of his 18 prototypes. The narrator considered his designs to be original, foolish, and fantastic. The narrator's thoughts played a big part in the story. That is how the narrator knew. So I spelled narrator wrong. Pretend like it's spelled right. That is how the narrator knew so much about the captain. If you answered something like that, it would be super fantastic. Even though it's a little bit wordy, it's a really good answer. We are going to move on to the next question. What details might make readers think Captain Arsenio was a real person? If you would like to answer and unmute yourself and speak, you're going to raise your hand and I'm going to call on you, okay? Because that might just be a little bit easier. So if you think you have an answer, you're going to unmute yourself and talk. Mr. Dillon, you can... Mark, that was another good way to end it. Mr. Dillon, you may unmute yourself, and I want you to restate my question for me. What details might make readers think Captain Arsenio was a real person? What should I say?
The details might make readers think Captain Arsenio was a real person.
How about let's say there are many details. Okay? Because then we're saying there's a lot of details. So let's say this backs up. There are many details in the what? The story that might make readers think Captain Arsenio was a real person, period. Fabulous. That is a great, great way to restate that question. As soon as it shows up, you'll be able to see it. And now we need legitimate details. What are those details? Just for yourself, you know, some of us were like, oh my gosh, is this real? We have no idea, but we know it's not real because we were told it's a fantasy. So as soon as this sentence I already typed showed up, I'm going to choose someone to unmute themselves and answer that next part of the question. What is one or two of those details? I can think of like 3 off the top of my head. And we're focusing on the first part of the question right now. We'll answer the second part later. So, Miss Maya, would you like to unmute yourself and tell me what one of the details is? Or one reason.
Because, like, it described his diary.
Or did you unmute yourself so other people can hear you?
Yes.
Okay.
It described his diary, and so I thought he was a real person because it was talking about somebody's diary.
Okay, so what? Okay, Connor, are you muted? Is your volume on? One of you 3 is providing a ton of feedback. So, yeah, but I can hear myself talking through one of your computers up there. One reason someone might think he is real is because he wrote a diary, just like people do in real life, right? People do that in real life. Totally. Okay. What is another reason? Would someone like to unmute themselves and tell me another reason? I promise the reason I just typed will show up. What is another reason, my friends? You can. Sorry, I needed to switch back. Anyone? Anyone? Dylan, would you like to go again? Okay, Mr. Dylan. Mr. Dylan.
One more reason, actually, it is one more reason, sorry.
Okay.
One more reason that we might think Captain Arsenio is a real person is because that they're using real things, not making up random things.
Like what?
Like a flying chair.
That kind of made up. But isn't that kind of made up? I think that one we're gonna. Okay. I totally know where you're going. I totally know where you're going. Because our author did a good job. They did such a good job. So we're gonna say what you just said for the end, because really we can't tie birds to ourselves, right? That's one of the ways we know that we're fake. I mean, I guess you could tie birds to yourself, but I don't think it would work really well. So another reason we might think the captain is real is the author did something really specific. He blanked him to other people. Does anyone know what word I'm looking for there? Yeah? Just tell me.
Describe.
Just tell me. No, he didn't describe. He didn't describe. Well, he described him to us. He blanked him to three other people. Yeah, compared. Mr. Jaden said it. Another reason we might think the captain is real is because the author compared him to the Wright brothers and Leonardo. No, not DiCaprio, Da Vinci. I'm spelling some of this wrong. I apologize. It's just taking so long. I'll fix it later. Da Vinci, who are real people. If you're being compared to someone that's real, we might think you're real. Remember, the Wright brothers were real people, weren't they? They really worked with aviation and flying. So when the author compared him to the Wright brothers, we're like, oh yeah, he's real because, we're talking about the Wright brothers and they're real. So is Leonardo da Vinci. But that's just, the author's way of making it seem even more real. So once this show, okay, there it goes. So another reason we might think the captain is real is because the author compared him to the Wright brothers and Leonardo da Vinci, who are real people. Please don't mind all of my crazy typos right now. It's just because I'm typing fast and my computer's going slow. All right, so those are two ways that we might think he's real. So now we're going to switch on over to how we know he's not real. So I'm going to say, however, we know he is not real because what? I'm looking for two reasons. We gave two reasons he could be real. I want two reasons he's not real. Abigail, would you like to unmute yourself so you can talk to us?
One reason why he's not real because you can tell by the illustrations.
Like I could draw you an illustration. A person. Like I could draw an illustration of you, and it might look crazy goofy, but you're a real person. That's not what I'm necessarily looking for. Jaden?
One way that you can tell that he's not real because that he strapped birds to his back or something.
All right. How about? However, we know he is not real because his inventions were not realistic. How about that, right? Because you can't really have cheese grater rings and actually fly, okay? His corkscrutula, it said he went into the clouds. There's no way, no matter what piece of metal, little spring you were on, you'd be able to go into the clouds. It just doesn't make any sense. So his inventions were not realistic. Now I want to talk about his crashes. He fell, all those things. So how do we know he's not real? Could a normal person survive those crashes? No. So that's how we know another way that he is not real. Also, oops, why is the L also uppercase? Also, his crashes and falls could not be survived by a real person. That just wouldn't make any sense. So now we have two reasons he could be real, but two reasons he's not real. That is plenty for this. And we gave text evidence. We're talking about, his falls and crashes. That happened 3 times in the story. His inventions. We could detail out his inventions more if we wanted to. We talked straight from the book. He was compared to Leonardo da Vinci and the Wright brothers. Fabulous. So now all we need is a way to end our story. Or not story, end our question. How can I wrap this sentence up? So I answered both parts of this one question, but now I need to end it. Anyone want to raise their hand and tell me maybe how I could kick it to the curb, end it? Someone maybe at home who I haven't heard from yet? Bless you. I can't see everyone on my screen. Yeah, you wouldn't be able to survive some of those, even with a helmet. There's just no way, Jose. Okay, Connor, would you like to try it out?
Another reason?
No, I don't want a reason. I don't want a reason. I'm just I want to end it. I want to end it. I'm tired of reasons. Look how long our sentence already is, or our paragraph already is. It's plenty long. We don't need it to be any longer. We gave 2 reasons for both answers. So I want to end it.
He wouldn't necessarily be dead by now because no one could survive that high of a
That's
fall.
what I just said. Also, his crashes and falls could not be survived by a real person. That's another way we know he's not real.
And another one is because that he used birds for no apparent reason. Because you can.
We already talked about that. That his inventions are not realistic, Connor. So I'm just letting you know you're not really following along with us, bud. Landon, I asked for someone to end our sentence for you. Okay, you can tell that he is not a real person, and that's why he, Jacqueline said fake. I would say maybe make-believe.
I have another reason.
Landon, do you want to unmute yourself and give it a try? Tell us a way to end our combo, or not our conversation, end our question.
Another
No, you don't want to?
detail that
All right, then no one else is talking to me.
We know that Captain Arsenio's book is a good book, but unfortunately it is not real.
Okay.
I have a reason. I have another reason why.
That's okay. So we can say we really like the story of the captain, but we know because of the details, the story is fantasy, which comes straight from the prepare to read page. It is a fantasy story, right? Woot woot. All right, let's read all the way through it once it, shows up maybe. It is just slow poking it today. I just think my Chromebook doesn't like to run my Google Docs and my Google Meet at the same time, but it runs other things better. I don't know. I just don't know why it doesn't work so well over here. If it ever shows up, we'll read through it. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to start from the beginning. What details make readers think that Captain Arsenio was a real person, and what details show he was not? There are many details in the story that might make readers think Captain Arsenio was a real person. One reason someone might think he is real is because he wrote a diary, just like people do in real life. Another reason we might think the captain is real is because the author compares him to the Wright brothers and Leonardo da Vinci, who are real people. However, we know he is not real because his inventions were not realistic. Also, his crashes and falls could not be survived by a real person. We liked the story of the captain, but we know because of the details, the story is fantasy. That is a super great answer that we came up with together. I would be so impressed if one of you had something to say like that. You guys use so many details. You even told me the genre, which I apparently spelled wrong, but that's okay. We're going to move on to our next question that we're going to do together. We only have about 13 minutes, so we got to get it done. This one, you need to be on the last page of the story, page 72. That's where the you're going to find success looking for answers. So the question is, what hint does the narrator give that Captain Arsenio may have succeeded in efforts to fly? Remember how he ended his diary. Was it in Egypt? Was it on the moon? How would it have gotten there? Would he have had to fly to get it there? I don't know. So now I need to put that into words. What hint does the narrator give that Captain Arsenio may have succeeded in his efforts to fly? The first thing I have to do is I have to restate my question. How can I first restate my question? Let me see if anyone raised on their hands. Connor, what are you doing? Well, then why are people typing in my chat that literally it says Connor, stop? I don't know, but I'm pretty sure Mark's not just typing that for fun. So let's do the right thing. Okay. Corgan, I don't know why you're putting little periods, but that's unnecessary. All right. So, Jaden, your hand is up. Tell me how I could restate my question, maybe. All right, I want you to stop there. Good thought. Okay, so Mrs. Kneifel, I know I've told you guys this before. I like to make the whole first sentence just a statement without actually giving away the answer. Then I make that the second part. So I took what you said and I kind of changed it a little bit. So the narrator gives hints. Let me backspace that the captain was able to fly. And then now I'm going to say one hint was what? What was one hint, Jaden? Okay, so one hint that his diary may have been on the moon. Or where was the other place it might have been? Any remember? Anyone? Started with an E.
Egypt.
I already said the moon. What's the one that starts with an E? Anyone?
Egypt.
Abby? Egypt. What's the other one? Yeah. Yeah, but he wouldn't have had to fly to go to the ocean, would he? No, the ocean would be like, oh my gosh, I'm so fed up with everything. I'm going to throw it in the ocean right now. So one hint was that his diary may have been on the moon or in Egypt. For his diary to get to these places, he would have had to what? Right, he would have had to fly to get there. One hint is that his diary. Okay, of course it's going slow. Why is it always okay? For his diary to get to these places, he would have had to have had a successful flight. Woot! So that's a hint. The author didn't tell us he made it to fly, but he said, oh, his diary might have been found in these places. So that's maybe why he had a successful flight. So now we just need to wrap it up. How do we end this lovely thing? For his diary to get to these places, he would have had a successful flight. That is how the narrator left us a cliffhanger. Anyone know what a cliffhanger is? Dylan, can you explain to everyone by unmuting yourself what a cliffhanger is?
A cliffhanger is like attracting you to read it again or watch another episode.
Right here. At the end. Dun, dun. Okay. Connor, I need you to close your computer or get off my Google Meet right now. Isaac and Kaden and Nolan, please do not be typing fly. Those are super unnecessary. And Isaac, it was Egypt, not England. And yeah, it's a cliffhanger. I probably spelled it wrong, Mark. Yeah, that's okay. So a cliffhanger just kind of like leaves you there, like literally you're hanging on a cliff. So the author didn't tell us if we were able to fly or not, or if he was able to fly. He just left us hanging. Well, his diary might have been on the moon, might have been in Egypt, maybe he was at the ocean or in the ocean. We don't know. So we for surely don't know. It kind of just leaves us hanging. So those are how we answered all those. You guys did a good job working along with me. I'm sorry that it was moving so slow. But now I'm going to stop screen sharing this, and I'm going to screen share your homework, because you do have homework. Your homework is one question. You're going to use Radar for one question. I'm going to get to it, and then I will screen share in just a second. Don't let me forget about the code word either. Well, I'll do it in a minute. I guess I could do it now. Just don't type it in yet, because I got to tell you other things. The code word is I'm a bird. So your homework is one Google Classroom question. And we talked about the answers like 16 times yesterday. You're just going to put it into words. It's not showing up yet. But the Google Classroom question is, what is it? I don't know. To answer that question for me, is it to inform? And then once you tell me what the author's purpose is, okay, you know, it's a fantasy story. So tell me how you know that, because the illustrations, because this. You're going to think, how do I know what the author was trying to get across? Was the author trying to inform me of how to fly? Was the author trying to tell me a fun story, make me laugh, look at these illustrations, yada, yada, yada? Or was the author trying to persuade me into building a flying machine? So that is what you are going to do for homework. That one Google Classroom question. I know it's not screen sharing, but it's taking too long, but you can look at it. So you're going to answer the questions to the best of your ability. You're going to restate the question. You're going to have some text evidence. You're going to make sure you have a wrap up. So your answer should be about a paragraph long, like around 5 sentences is how long your answer should be. You have to use capital letters and you have to use punctuation, and it is due by 7:45 a.m. tomorrow. Are there any questions? If there are not any questions, you may leave me. This recording will be posted and you can get started on your question. Thank you guys for being patient. I apologize that everything was moving so slow. The code word again was I'm a bird, Kaylee. The code word was I'm a bird. You are free to leave and get started on your homework, which is due tomorrow. Remember, it should be about a paragraph, about 5 sentences. Also, my fully virtual kids, if you're still on, the new thing has been posted. If you're not fully virtual, we'll all be here tomorrow. Well, Landon, fix it. Instead of typing about it, just fix it. Goodbye, peeps. Edit it, Landon. Use some effort. Look around. You should be able to edit it. It's a question.